Hello, hello. Welcome to the eLearning hot seat. I am watching our video, LMS Pulse. Look at that. Fantastic. LMS Pulse is now a part of Open LMS. As you can see there in the little center there. So LMS Pulse is a part of Open LMS. I want to welcome everybody. You know, we're live right now on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. And this is something that, we're going to be doing every week along with our office hours that, we've been talking about for a little while now. This is a part of one of the ways that we add value to, and we sort of have really interesting conversations with the community that we have, the community over at community.openlms.net. And I'll talk about that a lot, but since we are live, if you do happen to be listening to us, or even if you're listening to the recording, feel free to put a question or a comment or an observation into the comments, no matter where you're watching it, because Germán and I will see it, my guest for today. And, we always respond to all of these requests and whatnot. So let me introduce my guest today, Germán Rojas. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for the invitation.
No, it's my pleasure. I mean, it's an easy invitation. I mean, we work together, right? So,
That's
but
yeah.
at the end of the day, you are a super busy guy. You are the head of our consulting services at Open LMS, and I've really been wanting to have this conversation for a while. Give us a little, just give us the 30 seconds, the 1 minute on what does that mean to be the head of consulting services for Open LMS.
All right. So I really enjoy my work. That's the first thing that I want to say. And basically, it consists in trying to analyze how we can add value for custom requests that our customers have. So it is common, like for sure, we are a company as a SaaS, software as a service, and we are offering a whole pool of solutions to our customers. But it's common, like from time to time, a customer needs something very specific about a custom development or even related to content creation or content transformation. And we are doing that. And part of it is we also have the opportunity to review what else we could find to try to beat the expectations. So sometimes customers are asking us for, hey, I'm thinking about VR. Can you create content about it? And we say, why not? So
Sure.
we explore it and try to find out how to work together and learn from it. And we are also very excited with the new technologies, and we are bidding for it too.
Cool. I have two questions I'm going to follow up with there, though. So the
Sure.
first one is, how how much customization does every client need, or is it everyone is a unique snowflake and they want their own twist on the learning management system and this and that, or is it not, do we provide like a 95% solution and then there's a few things that we tweak for everyone, that kind of stuff?
Okay, so let's say like the proportion is small, but because our size of customers, that might is an important amount. So let's say like we have around, I believe, 1,500 customers, and from them maybe it is common like we have a life like between 100 customers with projects per year. So there are like layers of different customization. So as part of the onboarding that we usually do, uh, it is common like the customers needs tailored configurations, let's say. But a small piece of customers or a small portion of them need something else, especially related to integration. So they have this system that they built or this mobile app, and they wanted to connect with some specific reports, or they want to find a way to boost the user experience with something that is different for their market, for example. So it is common where we have, especially with corporate customers, that they say something like, hey, we want this different experience to be different in the competency, and things like that. So that's the common piece. And for sure, the content services, right now we are very focused on APAC as a region, but that's huge. Like several customers needs that, and I believe the evolution of the education shows to the customers the value to invest in good content quality. So it is not the same like showing just a YouTube video to train someone, or just a PDF It is completely different experience if you have instructional designing and also conversations with subject matter experts and try to understand how we could add value for that experience to the customer. So I believe that type of services are more common and that those services are growing. But there is an interesting part, and it is in several cases, we are identifying common requests. Like if we identify this, we are receiving several customers asking for these type of reports. And we actually are increasing the functionality and we are asking our product team, like, this type of request is common. Let's put it in our
Let's
roadmap.
make it a feature. Yeah, make it a let's make it a feature.
Exactly. Eventually, we are getting to a point where we would like to reduce the number of developments or these type of developments that are common, and we are focusing more like in the very specific requests that a specific number of customers request. So
super cool.
Yeah.
So then my follow-up question to that, the second one was, how often do you say no? How often do how often does a customer or a client or anybody come to you and maybe even an internal team and they're like, oh, we really want to do this. And you're just like, that's just not a good idea. You don't want to do that.
Actually, it is about personality too, right? So usually I have someone or, a group of people in my team that are the ones who say no. Because usually I'm very optimistic and I'm like, oh,
you're a yes man. Just admit it.
Right. But it is important to have that balance in the team, and actually that's how we are working a way where like sometimes it's like, oh yes, that request seems very important for this customer. It seems reasonable, but then when we estimate the cost, the effort, maybe that's too much and it's not worthy for the value that we will get. And part of the work that we are trying to position to our customers is saying, if it is not adding you value enough, we will say maybe this is not a good idea. So we try to evaluate not only the cost that we will have for something, it's also like how much value that might represent to our customers. Sure. And in some cases, we identify like easier ways. Sometimes the customers get with us like with a solution and say, I need a mobile app to do this, and that. In some cases, we will say, you can fulfill this need if you are doing this in this way without too much cost.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, is a good exercise to say no. But yeah, I need to improve it, to be honest. Like,
fantastic. If you just joined us, it's about we're coming up on 10 past the hour here. I'm with Germán Rojas, who is the head of our consulting services at Open LMS. I want to just point out that we're live right now, so you could put a question or a comment or a suggestion or whatever into the comments for us if you're watching us on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. And if you're just watching the recording, you can also put comments in there and we will respond. I also want to just take 2 seconds to give a shout out to whichever one's behind me here, the eLearn, the eLearn Success Series that we have over at Open LMS. Our first, it's this series of 4 events that's happening across the year. There's 4 sessions. The first session, which is all about instructional design, designing engaging and effective learning experiences. It's going to be on February 23rd. We have some really, just top-notch speakers. For instance, our 2 keynotes. Our opening keynote is a woman named Jane Bozart, who is with the eLearning Guild. She's the head of research there. And then our closing keynote is Michelle Ockers, who is just a huge name in the e-learning space. And so I'm really excited to see what they're going to put on the table. Well, oh, look, there you go. And you can get a key point there that I forgot. All of the tickets are free. So if you go over to eLearnSuccessSeries.com, you can get a free ticket. Germán, what I really wanted to talk to you about today was something you're passionate about, which is the future of education. We both we're lucky enough to work in ed tech. We have the privilege of, serving people over the last, 24 months here of the COVID crisis, when everyone has now learned, whether you have kids or whether you are, in a workplace or whatever, that learning online is a thing and it's an important thing. But I want to just set the table for you like that and say, when I say, what's the future of education? What's the first, where do you start that conversation with people?
Yeah, it's a very broad question for sure. but as you said, I really enjoy that topic, and I have several conversations with friends and others about it. The first talk that I have about it is the future of education is everyone, more people getting education for more part of their lives. Like education now is it's getting into a way where you can learn. It doesn't matter your age, and ideally it doesn't matter where you are or your
Mm,
social conditions. That's the whole thing. So I believe the education is the future, not only for like when we talk about the future of education, actually we are talking about the future of the whole humanity. I believe investing on people is investing on educate that people, because
mm,
that will leverage a different level of ideas, and let's say like we will move into a world where an idea is more expensive and more valuable than a pound of gold, for example. So I believe the future of education is a world where we are driving by those ideas, by communication. The
mm.
wars will be between data, between how we are beating our competition between companies and stuff, and not with guns or trying to find specific diamonds and things, right? For sure, we need to value and part of the being educated is find ways to invest better in our resources, tangible resources, and find ways to grow together as a collective intelligence, let's say, as a humanity.
Mm. I mean, it's a beautiful future. I love the picture that you've painted. Where, if I look at a spectrum of time, where are we at in that path today, and sort of where, what's the next 12 months, the next 24 months, like how do you see the evolution, what the next baby step in that evolution is? It
Yeah.
Yeah, are we talking everyone going to augmented realities of some kind? Is it just still accessibility and digital divide issues? Is it further acceptance of workplace mobility across the world, or what is it for you?
Yeah, so I believe this question without pandemic is completely different with a pandemic, right?
Mm,
So I believe for sure the pandemic accelerate a lot the adoption of education in technology, and I
mhm,
believe that trend will continue, right? Like I believe even when we are fixing or we are getting better with the pandemic and we are, let's say, like surpassing this, the trend is showing like still people will getting their access to education and virtual education. The challenge there, and I believe like in the near future, the challenge would be about connectivity. Like it is common when we have these conversations, it is common like we assume, or all right, yes, the future of education is VR and blockchain and several technologies, and for sure. But at the same time, there is a huge reality where countries that, in Africa, for example, where the lack of connectivity is huge, we will find ways to realize how important is the connectivity for them. And as soon as we get more people connected and able to adopt technologies, adopt education too, we should be able to find a way where all of these new technologies are boosted by different people trying to create startups based on it and try to have new ideas and companies around that. So in the near future, for sure, it's about hype too. So there is a huge hype about accessibility,
mhm,
and basically accessibility. I believe it is getting actually into a mature way where we are all realize how important it is. We have different solutions and how to implement it. VR, for example, and the metaverse now, and even with the Facebook announce, um, before beyond a company itself, right? Because we might receive different metaverses, same as social medias, right? Like
mhm,
it's not
mhm,
like we have the social media. No, it's like we have Twitter, we have Facebook for sure, but we also have other ways to communicate. So metaverse is part of that, and I believe there is a huge hype about it. Several companies will start trying to adopt that, but in the reality, that hype will receive like or needs more maturity.
mm.
New technologies needs to adopt in a way where people is really feeling that. So for sure, education is an space, and it is demonstrated like everyone or each people, each individual learns different. with different tools, with different ways. There are some people that still prefers read a physical book, and that's fine.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, for me, the new technologies in the near future are bringing additional gates to get education, to receive education and offer education, learning and learning and learning and teaching and learning. Sorry. So at the end of the exercise, the near future for me seems like we are accepting better the education, the virtual education, and the conversation will translate not about virtuality, if it is better face to face or virtuality. It will be more related to bring options for people to get education.
Fantastic. You know, as you know as well as I do, like the people who are listening to us, at least the audience for LMS Pulse and whatnot, are generally they work in higher education. You know, they've been professionals for a long time, and they have experienced a lot of change over the last 20, 24 months. What do you say to them about this picture that you're painting that is, it can get really overwhelming about, sort of, oh my gosh, now I've got to learn virtual reality, or wait, now I've got to be a learning designer and I have to, adopt these new technologies. And, now I have to meet my students no matter where they are, especially adult learners, right? Like, are we on a mobile device? Are we on Zoom? Or blah, 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 this and that. So what do you say to them about not only the pace of change, but then helping to assuage that overwhelm, helping to sort of say, hey, look,
Yeah,
no
so
stress.
I believe the first consideration is like it is common like people perceive new technologies as, oh, that will replace this or that, and we should try to take technology as something that is adding value for us.
Mhm.
So and like it is something also about more related to values, and like in a world where everything is changing, right? Like every day we will have new technologies, new tools, new everything. We should be open to take them, but also the focus should be like how we could teach in a way where it is agnostic about it,
Mm.
right? So if we are stuck in and this is part of the challenge, right? Like we had a whole generation or several generations that has been used to have education in a similar model, and now there are a lot of disruptions since the last maybe 40 years because internet connection and all
Sure.
of this. um, and I believe the main change is about we should, you know, today Google, for example, or whatever search engine is able to provide you all the responses to you. In a world where you have all the responses in the finger on your tips, it seems
Mhm.
like the right things to teach is about how to ask and ask the right questions, and let's like try to analyze how I know if something is real or if it is a fake news, for example, right? Like
Mhm.
somehow I believe the education should be more focused on independently of the tool, more focused on how to teach to learn, for example, which is
Mm.
quite challenging. And we need to consider like it is not only the teacher bringing the the teach, let's say like class, it is also like the teacher evolving and learning also about the new technologies and about how to approach those, but without the fear of, oh, that new technology is something. It's more about, okay, what is there that could bring me value to do my job better. And that's something that we all need to do, and it's quite challenging, but it's part of the things, right? Like today, for example, a company prefers to hire someone because of the potential, the attitude, and the potential to fulfill knowledge instead of
Mhm.
because has a specific knowledge. There are
Mm.
some cases, but the main thing is try to incentivize people to learn how to learn more, basically.
Incentivize people to learn how to learn more. Folks, I'm talking with Germán Rojas. He's the director. professional services here at Open LMS. We are colleagues here at Open LMS. I just want to remind you, we're actually doing this live right now on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. So if you are listening, feel free to put a question in the comments, or a suggestion, or even just a hello. We do see them. We're happy to respond. And even if you're listening to the recording of this, we do check all those messages afterwards, and we're happy to respond to you as well if you have a question, or it's something that you want to talk about. You were going in an interesting direction, Germán, about how education and work, sort of what we do for our professional pursuits. There's a very obvious tie-in, but also now it just kind of sounds like you're painting this overlap of education being a part of work, being a part of it. So like, do I have that right? Is that kind of the picture that you're painting, where it's not only a critical skill set, but it's, every job description, every title, every role will have an education component to it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, it's more like, my point there is like, we are more supposed to be focused to, when we are interviewing someone, for example, it's not about the specific knowledge of that person. Like, do you know how to do this in development, or how to build this new stuff about this? It's more about how, in which level you are open to learn something new, and what is your attitude to take new challenges and embrace them, right? For example, I believe, like, we were used to in the past to, to teach, for example, a degree where we say, look, this is the knowledge that we are sharing to you, and we were like teaching knowledge in the past, and that knowledge was something that you can replicate. So I don't know, if you are an engineer, I will show you how to build, what is the logic to build buildings, for example, or to build, whatever is the teaching. Or if you are in medicine, I will show you which specific items you need to follow to do this stuff, right? And if the knowledge is static, we will say you can use that you learn, and you can do that the same for 40 years, and that's fine. And every year that you are doing the same, you are getting better, so your experience is huge. And how important is your experience about that, right? Today, considering like the number of changes, or specifically in technology, for example, but this is happening in different areas, we are perceiving a world where your experience actually might be against you, right? So if you learn to do something in a very specific way, you will need to review, okay, I know how to do this in this way, but now there is a
It
better
may
way.
blind you to adaptation.
Right. So sometimes that's the tricky part, and that is the disruption that this might cause. But with time, I believe, people, or we should be able to encourage people to embrace those changes, and embrace those challenges where the experience is valuable, as soon, in the same level that you are open for changes and to improve the things that you were used to do. So the experience is value in the way that you can say, oh, this new technology is much better and is helping me, because in the past I had to do this, and this is why this is more valuable. But if you are stuck and you say, I'm not understand that new technology, but still I believe I'm doing it better. But this method that I was used to do is better than that I don't understand. That's challenging, and I believe that is the kind of reactions that the world will try to avoid. And we need to try to find ways to incentivize people that it's okay to say, I don't know, I need to improve, even if you had 30 years of experience in something.
Sure, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's give the example of Kodak, or even if like even a more recent one. Like, I was having a conversation with a colleague, I think it was yesterday, if not the day before, where it was just such a stark reality about, everybody used to use Skype. Skype was the thing. That was the way that we did sort of voice over IP, virtual connect. And now it's Zoom, right? Like everybody, like that. It's one of those moments where they miss that opportunity to evolve or continue to be that solution that people went to, or they were replaced, right? How do you what was I just going to ask? Where does this place the educator? So right now I'm thinking about sort of our corporate world, right, that we deal with. I think higher education will always have that piece because there is, enculturation, indoctrination into, wherever you come from, especially in the higher education universe, you're going to choose what college you want to go to.
Right.
But then when you get into a corporation, where does this leave the chief learning officer, the head of learning and development, the HR professionals in terms of supporting human development, in a career? Like, what's their job?
Yeah, I believe for sure it will depends about like the culture of each company and stuff. But I believe the trend for the future is as individuals we should be able to embrace our errors and mistakes and be open to share them and be able to even share our vulnerabilities in general. So somehow I believe we we should find spaces to encourage people for experimentation, for example, and to share those vulnerabilities, and that's fine. So we, like our current system, or it's like the systems that we were used to have in education is like you need a perfect score on your exams, and this is something that is measuring your performance, and you need to hit the 100%. And like everything is based on grades. It doesn't matter the country where you are, and that model was working for a while, right? But it seems like that creates some people who say, I need to be perfect. I need to be to hit the grade, the perfect grade. I cannot get any mistake, even if you are learning, right? So that caused several things, and I believe it caused people is not willing to share vulnerabilities, and it seems to me that that needs to change. We need a world where people it's okay to fail as far as as you are learning to fail, right? Like, yes, I failed 100 times, but I learned from it,
Right.
and that's okay. And I'm improving based on my failures, and it is okay. And I don't need to cheat. Like I don't need to try to get a homework from a friend or something. Is like I'm taking care of myself because I'm really interested to learn something. Like if we incentivize that, and in the same way we are creating that environment of vulnerabilities, we will create a space where the collective intelligence is able to grow faster, right? So if we are building a team where everyone believes individually are perfect, it is a very difficult team because anyone will be open to accept errors, mistakes, or to say, I will do it better, right? In a world where you think you are perfect, you won't improve.
Right.
But in a world where you are open to share vulnerabilities, you are not only able to improve, but also you are inviting others to help you to improve. Even if, or even as a team, as a collective intelligence, you are inviting others to say, Luis has this vulnerability, and that's why I am there talking about sales instead of him. And that's fine. And he wants to improve that. So we are inviting, and he's shadowing, right? So we are inviting this collective intelligence to get better. So because companies are formed by teams and not by heroes, like individual heroes, or that should be the way. Um, Eventually, I believe educators and people in human resources should be able to incentivize people to share vulnerabilities, to feel okay if they are experimenting something new and fail. Because when you consider you are perfect or you are very good, and this is the best way that you are doing something, shit happens like Blockbuster, right? Like when
Yeah.
Blockbuster is, yes, we are huge, we are doing the right things, we are getting a lot of money. You Netflix, you don't know about this, you are just new in the market, just like a kid thinking about it, right? So in a world where you are sharing those vulnerabilities that you are open to learn, those type of things are less, like you are mitigating that type of failure that are the biggest failure, right? So it is better to learn from small failures and keep growing instead of deny your mistakes and deny you the opportunity to improve and have a biggest failure that you cannot like survive from it, let's say.
So how as I think this sounds great for the corporate world, right?
Yeah,
Because corporations survive on being adaptable and they evolve to the needs of the day, et cetera, et cetera. How does that play out in higher education? How does that play out even in K through 12 as well, where an expertise, even still today, you are a professor of,
right.
literature, or you're a professor of, X. How do you have a sense of like how those two play out? Where are we asking for the same type of adaptability and agility from the higher education space as well, and
Yeah,
especially the people that we're looking to be educators?
I believe it starts from it. So part of the reasons of why people try to be perfect is because the model of even grading and the way that we are expecting something, right? Like we should be able to say, that in my perception, when you are in higher education and you are a teacher bringing a course, you should allow people to have experimentation, and you should bring spaces to fail. Maybe you will have exams, maybe you will need to have grades, but still you should be able to try to find ways in your class that people feel that it's safe to say a dumb question, that we safe, you know small things like there are no, like allowing people to ask whatever they need, and don't be shame about it. I believe that's part of it. And the same way, try to encourage people to, okay, you will have this, and you will need to, I don't know, if it is a teacher for whatever topic it's, you can encourage your students to have experiments and teamwork where they could openly talk about that and try to find ways to make it better. So I don't know, if there is a final or a project, ideally you should allow different stages of that project, and ideally iterations about it. So if you show something and they get some mistakes, you should be able to say, get it better for the next time, and maybe try to even, bring the space to bring feedback and allow them to improve that from it. Because it is common that I will put you at, I don't know, like a workshop, and you send the workshop and you receive, this is your grade, and that's it.
Right.
And in some cases, if the teacher has more time, they will bring you feedback. But the thing is, after that feedback, are you doing something about it, or is just like,
Right.
oh yes, I receive 80% of 100, and this is the feedback, and yeah, I should improve. Oh yes, that I missed that. I know how to do it, but most of the times you don't really do it again, right? So I believe it will be worth it to say, enable the workshop and say, send it again, and I could improve your grade, for example, or whatever. But allow the students and people to understand their mistakes and not only get it feedback, but also allow them the opportunity to make it better from it.
Awesome. Germán, last question I have for you on
Sure.
this very, this exploration of the future of education is, what are you excited about? And in the short term, it's, we've really been talking very sort of far, no, what I would say distant future, pie in the sky, sort of like what's an ideal world that we're getting to? Like, what are you excited about in the next 6 months, the next 12 months, in terms of, is there a shiny new object that you are, would love to tell educators about, or is there a process that you're excited about, or anything at all?
Yeah, I believe, I mentioned this as a hype a few minutes ago, but the metaverse for sure is creating a lot of excitement, and I believe there are several opportunities around that. So something is more like, there are companies that are offering solutions where you can literally go and play around in a room with people and also listen and talk together, right? Like these type of things are creating a whole different, um, it's like we are moving into a like a virtual world that is allowing not like feeling the screen, but is also bringing opportunities to people to to put their interest in a virtual way. So these companies, for example, and we are trying to be there, spoiler alert, is we should be able to allow people to show personalities based on like how to dress, for example. So imagine like we are in a virtual room, and I am able to create my avatar. That seems kind of silly, but if I allow myself to put, I don't know, if I like unicorns and put it, I am a unicorn with different colors and stuff, I believe that is exciting for me, because people will be, they will feel it as a game. They will feel it like it is representing my interest.
Uh-huh.
And like things like that. For sure, each company will decide if, I don't know, maybe if it is more broadly, and any company said this is the space that we will use for meetings, and maybe there are some rules, maybe even for the avatar. But the whole thing about it is, I believe people will start feeling some kind of connection that we could approach to teach more. And because we are improving or increasing the channels for people and the ways to learn, my expectation is the adoption and engagement about education might increase in the short term. So I'm excited about that.
Super cool. Well, thank you. I thank you for putting that, what you're excited about. I have to admit, I'm a little terrified, but the metaverse sounds fun. It's like, boy, hopping into it's going to be a big thing for everyone. Germán Rojas, you are the head of professional services. You're the director of professional services at Open LMS. I really appreciate you giving us, a portion of your day this morning to talk about the future of education. But I wish you all the best. I want to remind everybody who is listening, come join us over at the eLearn Success Series this year. We have 4 events. Last year we did the eLearn Success Summit, but this year we have 4 events. Our design session, which is all about creating or designing effective and engaging experiences for learners, is happening on February 23rd. You can get a free ticket at eLearnSuccessSeries.com. So come join us. Thanks a lot, Germán. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for the space, Ladek. Have a great day. Bye.